Okay, let's just jump right in with a pretty wild idea. What if the reality you're experiencing right now isn't something you're just watching? What if you're actually creating it in real time, every single moment? Well, that's the core premise of a really fascinating framework called CMAC phenomenology. It's basically a theory of being alive, a map for the architecture of your own experience. And today, we're going to unpack it. And I love this quote because it gets right to the heart of it. This whole thing isn't some dry, abstract, philosophical exercise. No, it's a model that's built from the inside out. It starts with the one thing you and I know for sure, what it actually feels like to be alive right here, right now.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the big idea, this theory of being alive. Then we'll get into the 5 forces of experience that make it all happen. We'll see how they render your reality, how this scales up from you to the entire cosmos, and wrap up with what this means for you, a map for your mind. Let's do it.
All right, Section 1, a theory of being alive. So what's the big claim here? It's simple, but it's huge. Your experience isn't something that's just happening to you. Nope. It's something your consciousness is actively, dynamically building from the ground up every single second.
To put it another way, you don't live in some static, pre-existing world. You live inside a real-time rendering. I mean, think about that. Your consciousness is basically a hyper-advanced graphics engine. It's not a camera passively recording what's out there. It is actively generating your entire world, frame by glorious frame. Which of course leads to the big question, how does this engine work? What are its components? Okay, so that brings us to the 5 core components, the building blocks of every single moment you ever have. You can think of them as the 5 forces of experience. And fun fact, 4 of them make up the name of the model, CMAC. That stands for contraction, matrix, attention, and context. Let's break each one down, starting with the most fundamental piece of the puzzle. So it all starts with what's called the field. This is the bedrock of everything. It's just raw awareness itself. You can think of it as this boundless, luminous space that's always here. It's kind of like the sky. It's just there, this vast, open presence. And everything else, every thought, every feeling, every sight and sound appears within that field, like clouds passing through the sky. Okay, so we have this infinite field. What happens next? Contraction. This is a fascinating idea. It's the process that takes that boundless, infinite field and kind of crumples it into a finite point of view. It's what creates the feeling of a self, of an I who is here, looking out. And it's not a bad thing. It's the universe's way of going from this vast, infinite potential to a personal, intimate experience. And then there's the matrix. And yeah, I know what you're thinking, but we're not talking about Keanu Reeves here. In this model, the matrix is basically the infinite library of all possible experiences. I mean, everything. Every thought you could ever have, every emotion you could feel, every memory, every dream, it all exists in the matrix as pure, unmanifested potential. It's this huge sea of possibilities. So, you've got this infinite sea of possibilities. How does just one of them become your actual lived reality? The answer is attention. This is the selecting function. The best way to think about it is like a spotlight. The matrix is this massive, dark stage filled with infinite potential scenes. Your attention is the spotlight, and whatever you shine it on, bam, that's what becomes real for you in that moment. Where your attention goes, your reality flows. Last but not least, we have context. So your attention has plucked one reality from the matrix. Now what? Context is the interpretive layer, the software that runs on top of that reality and gives it all its meaning. It's made up of your personal history, your beliefs, your language, your culture. It's your unique filter on the world. And this is why 2 people can have the exact same thing happen to them, but experience it in 2 totally different ways. Their context is different. Okay, so now we have our 5 pieces: the field, contraction, matrix, attention, and context. But the magic is how they all work together. They're not just separate parts in a machine. They're a dynamic, seamless process that is constantly, and I mean constantly, rendering your reality. So let's just walk through it, step by step. How is a single moment made? 1. You start with a field. It's always here. 2. Contraction happens, creating a point of view, a you. 3. This you is now facing the matrix, with its infinite menu of options. 4. Your attention acts like a cursor and selects one thing from that menu. 5. Your context instantly wraps that selection in meaning and story. And 6. Boom, a moment of experience is rendered. And this whole cycle, it's happening faster than you can blink, over and over and over again. It's happening right now.
All right, now here's where things get really mind-blowing. We're going to zoom all the way out, because what's so incredible about this model is that it's fractal, like a pattern that repeats at every scale. The very same architecture that's building your inner world, right now, is a tiny echo of the architecture that's building the entire cosmos.
Just look at how this maps onto itself. On the personal level, you have contraction. That's the feeling of being me. While on the cosmic level, contraction is what creates a stable world with actual defined objects. Your personal attention that chooses your next thought, that's a miniature version of the universe's attention, which chooses the one causal path that reality actually takes out of all possibilities. And your personal context, your beliefs and memories, that mirrors the cosmic context, the fundamental laws of physics. It's the same engine, guys. One runs you, the other runs the universe. Okay, so this has all been pretty big and cosmic, right? But what's the point? Why does any of this actually matter to you in your day-to-day life? Well, that's what this is all about. This isn't just a theory, it's a practical map, a user manual for your own mind.
So what does this map tell us? Well, a few really powerful things. First, your attention is your superpower. It's your primary creative tool. You are literally choosing your reality from that infinite menu. Second, your identity, that feeling of me, isn't some fixed, solid thing. It's a flexible pattern, a process. Third, your beliefs, your context, they aren't just ideas. They are literally the blueprints that shape the world you live in. And maybe most importantly, a lot of human suffering seems to come from one simple mistake. We forget we're the entire, vast open field, and we mistakenly believe we're just the small, temporary contraction. When you really get this, you see that you have way more influence over your rendered reality than you ever thought possible.
Which all leads to one final and, I think, pretty profound question. If it's true, if your reality really is a rendering, and you're the one at the controls, holding the power of attention and context in your hands, then what are you going to choose to render next?